up next, we have just a couple sessions left for the morning before we break for lunch, but we've saved some of the most interesting pieces of this space for this time. So you heard earlier from data.org about the AI to Accelerate challenge, or AI to Accelerate Impact challenge that we're running. Now we're going to hear from fellow funders about why we're choosing this mechanism and what we're thinking about in terms of innovation. So I'd like to welcome to the stage our moderator, my colleague Ali Schmidt-Fellner, Vice President of Research and Insights of Mastercard Center for Inclusive Growth. And then our panelists, we have Kate Behncken, who's the Corporate Vice President and Global Head of Microsoft Philanthropies, Brigitte Hoyer-Gosselink, the Director of Product Impact at google.org, and we have Deval Sanghavi, who is a co-founder of Dasra. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. What an amazing morning we've had so far, and thank you for the continued engagement from everybody. So we've heard some incredible insights so far on the AI for Impact landscape. Daniil at data.org offered some early insights from our own AI to Accelerate Inclusion Challenge, and then we've heard some amazing use cases in the field already. And so now excited to welcome this amazing panel to represent catalytic capital in the AI for social impact space, and really examine what we want to know about bright spots that are emerging, the greatest needs for further investment, reflect on the term that we coined earlier on pragmatic optimism in the investment space. And so I'm excited to welcome our distinguished panel here, who have collectively been ahead of the curve on these investments. And so looking forward to the conversation. I'll start with you, Brigitte. So google.org has been in this space for some time. You launched the AI Impact Challenge back in 2018. And I was talking to a colleague earlier, Perry Hewitt at data.org, who said challenges are the engine for discovery. So I'd love to understand from you what you have discovered from that initial set of investments and where you're taking your approach going forward.
2018 feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? We had a pandemic since then. We've seen massive changes in technology. So just to bring us back to that point in time, this was not long after I think we really saw the big breakthroughs in what was happening with image recognition. And for Google in 2017, our CEO said we're an AI first company. And so as google.org, our philanthropic arm, we said, well, I guess we better be an AI first philanthropy and figure this thing out. And at the time, we had been starting to see some very early use cases crop up, either in our own research teams, we were seeing publications come out in the research community, and we've been a longtime funder of technology in the nonprofit space, and our own partners were talking to us about what could this opportunity present. And so the challenge gave us a chance to put this call out to the nonprofit community and ask them to share their ideas. And we got 2,600 applications then. And I think it was, in some ways, this almost pressure release of folks saying, hey, we've been interested in this, but there hasn't actually been a lot of dedicated funding yet. And the application itself obviously was a thought process that also people could work through. We've seen a lot change since then, right? But those organizations, I think a few things I'll highlight. First of all, those organizations many of whom have grown substantially in their work. Some of them are represented in this room and have been throughout the week, have had tremendous impact. We've seen that the organizations who have been applying in their work continue to report to us consistently that it's helping them achieve their outcomes more successfully. So the numbers that we have from their reports are that they're achieving their end outcomes in half the time and a third of the cost. That is a huge, tremendous jump in what we think that this technology can do. We also, I think, continue to see just the need for organizations to be at the heart of this work. And by doing these kinds of calls, of course, starting with the problems that they really see and marrying that up with the AI solution. And I think we hear this start with the problem a lot, and it can be easy to feel like we're doing it when we maybe are not quite doing it as much as we think we are. And so I think that that challenge format obviously really centers that work. And of course, importantly, then giving them the money and resources to make that vision a reality. Where we are today in this is, we've since run another challenge a couple of years ago just to sort of catch up onto where the technology has gone. And then we've most recently actually done, on the generative AI side, an accelerator last year to really think about, for that particular technology, it in some ways I think requires a bit of a different approach. It really does require experimentation. And what we wanted to do is offer organizations not just a, hey, tell us what you'll do, but let's really sit down and play with this thing together. We'll bring expertise in, we'll offer our technologists, we'll offer our technology, and let's see what we can build. And we just had an opportunity to feature those some demos of their work at an event we had a couple of weeks back. And it's pretty amazing what they're doing right at the cutting edge. And I think it's important that we are enabling organizations who are social impact organizations to be at that cutting edge right now, so that they're not waiting to see, oh, what are the commercial applications, right? And I think sometimes we've often let that lag in the sector. So we actually have, small plug, we're gonna run another one of these accelerators, and the expression of interest is on our website. It's google.org. So we're excited to see, I think, just what this experimentation can enable.
That's very interesting. Thank you for catching us up on your journey since 2018. Lots of great work. I'll turn to Deval next. I'd love to learn about Dasra's approach to philanthropy and how you've brought your giving philosophy to life as it pertains to AI and technology more broadly. And you're, of course, a great partner of ours on the AI to Accelerate Inclusion Challenge. So we'd love to understand what drove you to join forces with us.
Great. Thank you so much for this opportunity and to be with other individuals on that panel who know technology far more than I do. So I just want to bring that up. And our journey at Dasra for the last 25 years, being based in Mumbai, has really been about supporting local leaders who are from the community, who've had lived experiences, to really create change as they see the change is needed. And so we realized very early on that many times these organizations and leaders weren't given the opportunity, the capital, the voice to actually do what they wanted. And many times it was unfortunately driven by donors, donors sitting in this country versus people over there. And so that's really been our approach. And we've been very, very fortunate to support over 1,000 organizations across the country to grow, to scale, to collaborate, to learn from each other, but really more importantly, to drive the agenda of the communities they serve. And I think that's so critical, and still something, for whatever reason, we need to still talk about, because it's not necessarily the norm as it relates to the development sector. And that's really why we decided to join this particular initiative, because I think the fact that we are providing funding to local organizations who have solutions designed for and by the communities they serve is what's so exciting, I think, about what MasterCard is doing. And that's really propelled us to take part in something that is not our expertise, but allow those that are experts from these areas to really accelerate and grow their models. And I think, as Brigitte just said, I think it's really important for the nonprofit sector of all countries to be ahead of this and not sort of take the drummed down corporate solution and pay 10% of what is required, but instead having solutions designed for the nonprofit sector, that's for them, by them, that may not even be related to the corporate sector. That's good. And I think that's what your initiative allows us to do.
Thanks so much. Really helpful to hear, and so grateful for Dasra's support and helping us get to that local level to lift up local solutions. So turning to Kate. So Kate, there are a number of great initiatives going on at Microsoft Philanthropies on this topic. Most recently, you closed a generative AI skills challenge. I wonder if you could share a little bit more with the group here on why you chose to focus on Gen AI and skills, and what you've learned from that so far.
Thank you. Well, I mean, we're seeing just an incredible demand for generative AI skills in the workforce. And I think, everybody knows, there's been a lot of conversations already this morning, that you can see how generative AI is going to impact almost every sector and almost every job. And, I think everybody is going to need some level of AI fluency, whether to retain a job or secure a new job or a livelihood. And it's really important that everybody is thinking about how to democratize access to AI. I think both bottoms up and top down. And it's especially important to think about how to empower, get skills to people and communities, especially in low and middle income countries, so that people can harness the sort of the power of these technologies to improve livelihoods and have socioeconomic mobility. So we did this challenge, a really fantastic response. We had 5 grantees, about 600 applicants from 93 countries.
And really, the purpose of the challenge was to tap into the innovation that is already out there. And we had, initiatives from an organisation in Nigeria, Givia, which is focused on how to support female entrepreneurs, to initiatives in Greece, thinking about how to build AI into education systems as well. So I think it's a really cool way. It's also why I love the summit today, actually, because I love that so much of it is built around use cases, because I just think it's especially important at this time to bring these new technologies to life in very real ways, so that people can be inspired and think about what it means in terms of your own role and the work that you're doing.
Thank you so much. Yes, couldn't agree more. It's so great to hear about all the use cases that there are out there, and you highlighted a few that you all are supporting. That is a great tie to my next question for you, Deval. I want to get to sort of the innovation level, the landscape level, and the partnership level. And so maybe I'll ask you a question on the innovation level. Can you just share one example from your work and your portfolio of an AI for inclusion innovation that you see is incredibly promising, that sort of represents the future of the field?
I think what we've been able to do is leverage a lot of the relationships and work we've done on the data and technology side of things to sort of work with those partners, some of those who have been speaking actually on this stage today itself, to really talk to them about what can AI do. And I think in the Indian context, we have hundreds of languages that are being spoken. Unfortunately, that means only individuals who speak one or two languages are getting access to a lot of the grants. Their voices are being heard more easily. They are the ones who are driving the agenda, and so many other voices are not sort of there. And so we've recently, just yesterday, announced a partnership with the Center of Exponential Change to really bring AI into these conversations, these calls that we do with these great leaders in their local languages. AI is allowing us now to translate that, to compile that data, and more importantly, to have those actual voices be heard by other stakeholders. And so this is not a report that we're generating. This is actually, you can hear voices on the ground that we are aspiring to do with the Center for Exponential Change, as well as some of the partners that spoke at the last panel. Because I think, like I said, we're not great at technology. We are very, very lucky to have served over 1,000 organizations in the country. And if we can provide them that bridge to the best in breed as it relates to technology and ensure those community voices are being heard, that is fantastic.
Wonderful. Thank you for that. Brigitte, turning to you, just on the wider landscape, you shared a little bit about your journey from 2018 to now. How are you seeing the landscape evolve in the future? What do you think is going to be the next frontier?
Well, I won't sit up here and try to predict where we're going on the technology front. I think we can all just stay close in touch with that. We are, I think, at a moment right now where we've seen what AI can do in the sector. And we have a lot of examples of that. We've heard a bunch of them today. I think many of us are partnering on those projects together. And I think we will continue to need more of that. And we will continue to need more of that, especially at the frontier as new technology develops. But we also have a lot of examples of things that are really working, where we know that we can do this work effectively. And we need to study that. We heard some calls for evaluation earlier today, and we need to make sure that, of course, the impact that we're seeking is actually happening. But if we do, I think the big question in front of all of us is a little bit the perennial question in the sector of scale. But I think what's interesting about the AI solutions that we have in front of us is that path to scale might look different. And it's going to, I think, require us to work in deep partnership across technical companies, across stakeholders in the civil society space, the UN, to make sure that we're using the channels that we have to really get those technologies, and most importantly, the outputs that are coming from them, where they need to be so that we are able to see those benefits. So that might mean, tools for frontline health workers or educators. We know we have something that works. How do we not rebuild that in every institution and call on nonprofits who have been systematically underfunded for years in technology and data to do that work individually? How might we actually do that work in such a way that it enables all organizations who do similar work to benefit? How might we do the example that was shared earlier by Katya with Adisha and the damage assessment work that we're doing with the research teams that we have? if we can get the UN models that inform damage assessment for every organization to change and improve, that's going to get us there more effectively. And so I'm just inspired, frankly, by the new pathways that may open up to impact because of some of the unique qualities of the AI predictions and models that we have. And I think we as Google are excited about actually shifting our strategy in this direction too. So we are embarking on a new approach we're calling AI collaboratives, where we're trying to take specific subtopic areas and actually bring together actors, bring together our technical and research teams, many of whom are dedicated to these issues as well, look at things like data set gaps. I know my colleague Sam spoke about that earlier, look at where we might have these existing pathways to scale. So it's an effort we're excited about. It's also an effort that we're building right now. So excited to kind of continue to do so in conversation with so many of you, with so many in the sector. And I think, really hope that we will see actually not just a shift in the way that we see an impact, but also in the way that we do this work, particularly around technology and data.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited for that initiative. Collaboration is so key. And you have a cross-sector group in the room, so we all need to be in here together to do this. So Kate, to that point, in your role, you at Microsoft Philanthropies, you are touching on partnerships and philanthropy and sit inside of a corporation. So would just love your reflections on what is needed from philanthropy, civil sector, government, and the private sector together to ensure that AI can be a net force for good. And how do you think about it at Microsoft?
I think we all have an incredible responsibility, and actually everybody in the room, there's lots of leaders in the room who all have different ways and agency to really think about how to ensure the equitable adoption of AI. And we're only going to ensure the equitable adoption of AI and these technologies if we take a multi-stakeholder approach. I think philanthropies can play a really important role in providing some catalytic funding, helping to prove out a model or a solution, and then bringing other funders to the table. Social impact organisations, civil society is absolutely critical to really help other organisations understand, the issues on the ground and what is going to work, and just as importantly, what is not helpful as well. I mean, I think technology for technology's sake is not valuable. It's really ultimately all about the problem and the issue that that we're trying to solve. And then I think private sector. Private sector needs to tap into the strengths that of the individual organisation. I mean, for us. It's technology, so we'll lean in there. But I think we all need to. I heard someone talking about unlearning things this morning, and I think in some ways we have to unlearn a little bit, maybe how we've approached some partnerships in the past, and think about how we need to partner for the future. And perhaps it's looking at, if you take it sort of looking at history and learning something from history so that we don't repeat it. If you think about electricity, it was developed almost 150 years ago, and when it was developed, there weren't enough people thinking about how to actually diffuse electricity around the world, and that's probably why, this morning 700 million people were not, woke up and were not able to access electricity. We need to really make sure that we don't do that again, and think about right at the beginning, right now, how do we diffuse this technology around the world so that everybody can benefit.
Wonderful, thank you. Well, this session is moving very quickly, so I'm going to turn to a rapid fire set of questions to close us out for each of you, and maybe we'll start with you, Deval, and go down the line. So what's one high-level message you'd like to communicate to the Data for Good community here in this room on how we can come together better to maximize impact? Or alternatively, for your consideration, what is one need you're actively solving for that you think the folks in this room could help you solve?
So I'll do question number one, which is ensure community is at the core of this and are driving everything we do. As my panelists said, technology or AI are just tools, not at all the solution itself. And whenever any sector starts focusing on the tools versus the needs of the communities, we get sort of where we are in the world today.
Thank you.
So I'll just reemphasize that we are at the early stage for our own work of building this new approach and looking for both models to learn from, opportunities to work together. So really excited to do so in conversation and partnership with you all. I also want to just name that we still don't have enough funding in this space to let organizations innovate. We have a lot of opportunities for partnership and for technology that's being donated, and that is critically important for capacity. But if we don't actually fund social sector organizations, they are not going to be able to sit at the table as builders of technology, as owners and users of this. And if we want to shape the AI future that we all want to live in, we need them in the game, not just as a side participant, but as builders themselves. And to do so, they need money. So I'm proud to say that we've given, I think, something on the order of $275 million since we started this AI work to AI groups in cash. Please join us. And if you know others who would like to join us and are not sure how they're going to fund in the AI space, we need all funders, not just technologists, supporting this work responsibly. Please come talk to me, because we're actually trying to build community around that too, to try and crowd more funding in to support the technology needs of the sector more deeply.
The power of storytelling, I think it's never been more important. And so, I think that everybody can play a role here in helping to amplify examples of how technology is being used, how AI is being used to solve, real problems on the ground.
Thank you. Thank you. So to recap, community over tools, more funding to innovate and more support, and find the amazing stories and help us share them. With that, I think we're at time. So thank you so much to the panel, and we will continue the conversation over coffee.